And this is also a very good time to talk about climate and what it means for food, sustainability, and our agriculture. So why am I talking here about climate and also about food? Because climate is actually impacting how we grow our food, how we ensure our food security. What are the implications and the ramifications for agriculture in the coming decades? We are currently in the phase of a great food security crisis, and I'm not making any great drama here. If you look at the data, there's been a huge loss of arable land worldwide. Alone in Japan, you have lost around 1.35 million hectares of arable land. You have a demographic problem. In Japan, for example, around 70% of all farmers are over 65 years of age. And then you have the big climate problem. You have droughts, you have floods, you have climate which is playing havoc with harvesting. So how do you, in the face of such challenges, ensure that food security can be guaranteed in the future? And how do you use data for that? And as I said, everything, according to my opinion, boils down to climate. Irrespective of whether it's demographics, whether it's the environment, whether it's the loss of arable land, it all has to do with the climate. If you don't have the right climate, you can't grow your food. So what are the possible solutions? Now, one of the possible solutions which has been presented is called controlled environment farming. It looks something like this. It's indoor farming, and you control the environment inside. So you can grow your plants irrespective of where you are geographically and irrespective of what season it is. Now, it sounds very clinical, but that's the future of food and that's the future of agriculture. And my startup, Klimazone Labs, is actually working on something in that area. It's called climate design for controlled environment farming. So what exactly is controlled environment farming, and what exactly is climate design, and why do you need it? Now remember, when you're growing food outside, you're doing it according to the seasons. When you're growing food inside, you have to make sure that for the plant that you're growing, you have the right climate, and especially microclimates determine the success of harvests. And for that, you need the right kind of climate to be generated within these enclosed spaces. And that's exactly where data comes into play. You can use data to create climate data sets, to generate information and knowledge about what kind of parameters, and their range of values are responsible for a good harvest. So if you look at climate design, what we are doing, we are going to mine data from different data sources. These would be sensors from live farms. This would be historical data. This would be experimental data. And then we go into the data analytics and data processing part, where we create, build a database, build a knowledge base about what and how these correlations are affecting climate plant growth. And then we have the climate modeling part. When we have this knowledge and when we have these data sets and the data points, we go into climate modeling. So that means we use these data points, we use these data sets to create climate models for different kinds of plants, for different environments. So that means if you are having a 5-storied vertical farm and you want to grow 3 different kinds of crops there, you can generate a climate model, and with the help of the climate model, you can actually create climate data sets which you can play over a network for hardware to control the climate and to recreate this climate. And this is actually the most interesting part, because it opens up a sea of possibilities. You can use this climate modeling to create new kinds of technologies, new kind of models on how and how fast you can create climate models. And that goes beyond agriculture. You can then open up this climate modeling for different use cases, as in hospitality, as in medication, and wherever you need different kinds of environment. Now, once we have done the climate modeling, we create climate libraries, which means for different kinds of plants, you have different data sets. And these data sets would then be used to control the farm equipment to recreate this climate within the vertical farms or within these confined environments. Now, you might be asking, climate libraries, so it's very nice, I understand what climate libraries are, but what do I do with climate libraries? Well, what we have in mind is something very different. Using climate libraries, we want to provide vertical farm operators, wherever they may be, climate on demand, which means you as a vertical farm operator, you don't need to invest money in developing climates for vertical farms for just a few varieties of plants. You can just have access to this catalog of climate and use it. And that's a big saving on the economic part for any vertical farm operator. So this climate on demand would be provided over a network. So as long as you have this basic infrastructure in place, you will be able to access this climate on demand. And we see what are the benefits, what are the carrots. So the first benefit is what I call off-grid farming. Off-grid farming because it makes farming independent of your geographical location. It makes farming independent of seasonal changes or the seasons. The second carrot is it opens up demand-oriented farming. So if you are a vertical farm operator, you have the chance or the possibility that you can actually know and what demand would be there in the market in the coming 5 to 6 months, and you can plan your production, your food production accordingly. And because you have access to this catalog of climates on demand, you can switch between different plants very easily. And then you have the third carrot, which is opening up access to vertical farming. And this is very important. Today, what you have in vertical farming is a big closed black box. If you don't have venture capital backing, and if you don't have the huge pool of knowledge capital, you have absolutely no chance to have any kind of role in vertical farming. What we are doing here is we are providing, through climate data sets, through climate on demand, distilled knowledge on demand. So you are no longer compelled to have this huge knowledge capital, and we are also going to provide supporting infrastructure that would make this huge venture capital backing pretty redundant. And that means it's going to be opened up for people like you who want to, take up vertical farming as a business option. And that is the big social impact that climate on demand has as a potential. Yes, so I'm almost at the end of my presentation, and if you want to, contact, you can use any of those channels. Best is Telegram or even email. Just for information, we have recently been selected by the European Union for an accelerator where we are going to use satellite data to create certain applications. Yep. Thank you very much.